love is not enough.
Yes.
Because as crazy as they were at one point, they were in love.
Yeah.
And we think that love is going to magically everything's gonna come together because I love you, I'm so in love with you. Like love is not enough. At one point, these two people were loved each other. They loved each other, wanted to be each other. Sex was great.
This is Vivian Villacis.
And this is Raul Villacis.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast. My name is Raul Villacis, and I'm here with my beautiful queen.
Yes, so happy to be here. My name is Vivian Villacis.
And today we're going to talk about Johnny Depp and
Amber Heard.
Amber Heard.
Yes. It's a topic that's like going around, and I think we just want to put our 2 cents in as to like how we perceive this stuff that's going on in a relationship. And this is something that we always talk about. So we want to thank you for the questions. We want to thank you for just following us. And, we talk a lot about relationships because for us is one of our biggest teachers. Raul and I have been married for 22 years. It's going to be 23 years this September.
Marriage is building businesses is easy. Staying married is the test.
And we're definitely going to celebrate it. And I always celebrate it because every year we learn something. Every year, like it pushes us to a bigger capacity. And I know I'll speak for myself. It's such a good teacher. You are such a good teacher to me. Marriage has been such a good teacher, and I love that. So I think we really wanted to put our 2 cents as to what's really happening with this Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And if you like, you could comment and share this because that's really how we really get this message out there. The message about love, the message about marriage, the message about relationship. It's not easy. We know it's not easy.
And the one thing I learned from watching this, because I was addicted to watching it every single day, and I had to catch myself. Now, I wasn't watching the live feed, but I was watching kind of like the short clips.
It was for a couple weeks.
It was going for a long time. At the beginning, I thought it was a reality TV show.
I didn't even know what was happening.
I thought it was kind of like one of those shows, But once I started to catch on that it was real life happening.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think I told you on date night that I appreciate you so much after watching that. Like there's some crazy women out there. And I'm gonna share what we learned as a couple. When I share with you what I've taken it as a man, and you give your perspective as a woman from this experience. But
and that's a really good thing that you say, because sometimes we take what we have at home for granted. And I know that I speak to a lot of women, and sometimes we're like we take what we have at home for granted. We kind of just maybe have given up, or we don't treat each other the way that we used to treat each other. We don't love the way that we used to love each other because we love is not enough. And
for the single men out there or married men out there thinking that the single scene is
any
easy,
better.
there's some crazy woman out there. That's all I have to say.
If you're married, kiss your
Amber
wife.
She's beautiful. She's a movie star, but then the craziness that comes with it and the shit that she puts on, literally.
So we're not.
She dropped on Johnny Depp is just beyond.
And I'm not here to take sides. Like I'm not going to take his side or her side. I'm really not. I think it's more like, what can we learn from this? Like, what is the perspective that we've gotten from all of this? And, sometimes we're so quick to judge for what's happening. And like I told you before, like there's always 3 sides of the story. It's like your side, my side, and the truth. And sometimes what goes on behind closed doors, like we will never know. So we will never really know what happened because they're both actors. Like even taking that into consideration, it's like we really don't know the truth of it.
There's one thing that we know for sure.
They're both crazy.
The one thing we know for sure is that there are 2 crazy people. That's the one thing that is without a doubt a fact, because no normal people are going to go through what they went through. But 3 things that I'm going to share that I learned from this. Number 1, that we could take back is that love is not enough.
Yes.
Because as crazy as they were at one point, they were in love.
Yeah.
And we think that love is going to magically everything's going to come together because I love you, I'm so in love with you. Like love is not enough. At one point, these 2 people were loved each other. They loved each other, wanted to be with each other. Sex was great. They're even doing drugs together. They had a hell of a time, and they had a hell of a party. But at one point, love is not enough.
Right.
You have to go beyond love. What do you have in common, right? What's deeper than love? What are we in the same page? Are we going to the same path? You know, when I heard in a couple of times when they were interrogating her, it sounded like he was very controlling. Like he didn't want her to do movies. He was very jealous, very insecure. So of course, when you love somebody and you're afraid of losing that person, and as a man you are insecure, then you're gonna start doing some crazy shit or reacting to the situation a different way.
And that happens all the time. Like I know that happened to us in our relationship, like early on. Like we've been married since we've been together in high school. So I could totally remember and kind of relate a little bit of that to our own story because, you know, we were young. And it's this, you know, you think that it's love, but it's really not
infatuation.
love,
It's
right?
like
it's like
you
this,
can't be without this
it's like
person,
a lust
right?
that you have at the beginning.
It's you know, it could be beautiful at the beginning, but it could turn toxic real quick.
Yes.
And I think that's what happened to them. It turned toxic because they couldn't be without each other, or she didn't want to be without him, and she didn't want him to leave. He didn't want him to leave. It just became chaos.
And then, you know, like when a lot of the people say like, well, how can you stay in the relationship like that? Like this story is like so many stories out there. Like there are so many marriages, there's so many relationships like that, but we just don't see them because they're not in front of camera. And they get used to that drama. You know, we talked about this last week or whenever it was that we did this podcast. Like we get addicted to this drama. We get addicted to that significance that we get from like, you know, you wanting me, you're looking at me, because at the end of the day, like what everybody wants is to be loved and to be seen. So whether you get it in a good way or a bad way, like they were both getting this from each other.
So from a man's perspective, I'm looking at this case, right, from another man going through this, right? And I ask myself, like, why didn't he just say, you know, enough, right? Why he just walk away,
right?
Like, what had to go through his mind that he had to be in this toxic relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from the woman too. So there's a lot of relationships that are going through this right now that they're stuck with each other, and at one point they had love, and the reason that I believe that love is not enough is because we've coached a lot of couples in the past that they love each other but they drive each other crazy,
right?
You know, and the core value of this is like love is gonna get you to the first level. But the deeper level is having a common value system. A common denominator of successful marriages is sharing the same values, having the same path, having a vision of, okay, where am I going? Where do you want to go? Having a compelling future. The second thing that I learned from this trial or watching this experience is that money doesn't guarantee you happiness.
Money
Because they have money, and a lot of couples that we coach, a lot of people say, once I have the money, if I have everything, if I give her everything that she wants, then she's gonna love me. But the reality is, money is not a guarantee that you're gonna be happy. There's a lot of unhappy, wealthy people out there that are just staying in it just because of the money. They're not staying in the marriage because they love each other, because they want to be with each other.
And like the way that I feel is like money just enhances who you are. You know, like if God gives you a little bit and you could do so much with it. When he gives you a lot, then yes, you could still do a lot with it. But like that money kind of just enhances the situations that you're already going through. So like we were going back how you were saying like he was so manipulative. Like he was buying her love, and the same like vice versa. Like, you know,
I'm sure that's versa. You know, when you look at this, I'm sure that he wanted to give her everything that she wanted in order for him to feel loved, right? So I'm reading right now, there's a book that I recommend. It's called No More Mr. Nice Guy. I'm finishing up right now. This week I should be done with it. And the common denominator is that pleasers are manipulators. That nice guys...
Pleasers are manipulators.
Nice guys at the core are manipulators. Why? Because we're trying to be nice because we want you to be nice to us. The moment that I'm being nice to you and you're not being nice to me, then I turn into... you know, a dark warrior. Guy. Yeah, and then I turn into a dark warrior. Then I try to tell you, oh, I'm doing all these things for you. How come you don't do these things for me? So we're trading love. We're not loving each other.
Right.
So one of the patterns that I see with a lot of men that are in this situation is that we're not loving unconditionally. We're trading. I'm gonna do this for you, as long as you do this for me. And the moment that you don't do this, then I am not going to do this for you. So then we become manipulators.
Right.
Because at the end, and then when we feel, okay, she's gonna leave me, or we're gonna be separated because of the kids, or what people say. We always go back to being alone and not being enough. So when you start looking at Johnny Depp as a man, you have to try to understand, like, there is a deep side of him that feels that he's not enough, even with all these things that he's done, movies, accolades. Still, he's trying to feel he's worthy of love by being with women that eventually
need him,
and the savior mentality, that we need to save people in order for us to feel like the hero.
Right.
So that's the trap that we fall into as men. We fall into these traps because we have relationships with people who are not necessarily at the level that we're in, or not necessarily in the same value system, but we think that we're gonna save them. Oh, she needs my help, or I'm gonna be the hero.
Right.
And the savior will always get crucified.
And then that's what we talk about too, like a lot in this, in us, like in the relationship. It's like we're looking in it's probably not just them, it's not just us, it's like in all of us, right? Like we're looking for the other person to validate us. We're looking for the other person to fulfill a part of us that maybe we don't have. And I know for me, like especially in our relationship, it's like when I realize like, hey, there's a lot of things that I wish that I could change about you. There's a lot of things that I wish that you would step up and do. And then it's like, okay, that was a mirror to the things that I needed to do. So we always say, like, we joke around, it's like, you're not my better half. You know, you're just like a whole person. You're working on being that. And that's where you say that, and it rings so true to me, because it's like two people that are trying to validate each other, whether you were the equation, or whether like it's love or money, whatever it is. It's like, it really, you take all those things away. You take all of that from her and from him, and it's like, who are they at their core?
It's like
who are they as
two
a person?
half-assed people can make a whole person.
Yeah, and
like
that's,
a half-assed man and a half-assed woman
are not going to make one whole.
They try to come together
to make one whole, and it's not going to happen.
You try to complete me, so I that's what I believe in. Like, you complete me method, because relationships never work when you're trying to complete somebody else.
Right.
The moment that you're a whole man, and then you said, okay, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, this is what I stand for, and then you bring that energy to that relationship, then it could work.
Yeah, we forget so much to do that, because that's the challenge that I have with the women, and even with myself at the beginning. Like, I had to get past that belief. It's like, how do I really take care of myself and become this, and know that I am worthy of everything that God created for me? And I think when that shifted for me was the part where like our relationship shifted, because it's like, I know who I am, and it doesn't come from a place of arrogance. It comes from a place of like just the knowing who made me and whose I am. And it's like, oh, okay, this is who I am. This is what I'm bringing to the relationship. This is how I could enhance you in the relationship. And I'm so thankful that now I know, and that's my journey with the women. It's like knowing who you are and what you bring into the relationship could only make that relationship even better. And that's kind of something like we just forget. And it's so clear in here how it happened with Amber and with Johnny Depp. It's like they forgot who they were, and they were trying to really almost like outshine each other.
Well,
right?
if you look at the experience that they had, is just they were trying to destroy each other, and when you are in love and you're trying to lift people up and you're growing together, then when you realize that it's almost towards the end, then you try to destroy each other. You try to manipulate the situation, and at the end, nobody wins. And I think it costs them a lot of money. It costs you a lot of money. So at the end, if I look back at, like, what would I tell Johnny Depp if I was coaching him, who was going through this, is if you are not willing to die for her and hold the space to contain this storm of a woman that she is, then you gotta get the fuck out. Because if you don't love that person enough to actually fight for her, I think that's when I was listening to that, I'm thinking, like, there's a woman that is going through all this trouble, all these things, lying, going through this, being in the news, because at the end of the day, it's also her reputation.
Right.
She's a feminine storm. It's like, I always say this: the feminine energy, as a man, may look crazy, but that's the way that you guys are. You love to be free, and it takes a certain type of man to maintain that energy.
It could be, but it's also there's an immature way of showing up as a woman. So here's the thing: like with me, I have this issue, like this battle, because parts of me and not that I'm taking her side, but like parts of me feel for the women who are out there who are in relationships of violence, and now they feel like, well, this woman who has the money, who has the evidence, per se, shows up to this court, and then she gets, like she lost.
But what I was telling you yesterday, she lost the lawsuit that it was
defamation.
Her that wrote that article.
Right.
So defamation is of character.
I know, but then for so many women out there who are in relationships like that, who maybe want to do the same thing.
I don't doubt that there's a lot abuse of women in there. There was abuse from him. There's abuse from her.
Right, but then
what happens is
it doesn't look like she won.
What happens is that when women try to use that as a way to destroy the guy, as opposed to say, "Hey, you did this to me. Here's the evidence. I just need to leave."
Yes.
Right. But it's easier said than done. I understand. But I always go back. Listen, I always blame the man. And that's because we have full ownership. Whatever is going on in your household, if you're a man, if your woman is crazy, is your responsibility. If that's the perspective that I take myself in, like everything that happens in my house is my responsibility.
Yeah.
So if you turn out to be crazy, well, I'm crazy for not helping you, going to the path.
Well, but there's certain things that I got to take care of myself. Like everybody, I think has to take. But if you go to
that
take responsibility
of having that drama, like there was no leader in the household.
Right, and that's something like we said before. It's like this has been going on for quite some time. Like why as human beings, like we're so smart, why do we let it escalate to something like this? Like it has to pile up and pile up and pile up into like it's so explosive. How did it get there? So if you're listening to this, allow yourself the time and the space to figure out like, okay, do I really deserve to be in this situation? And what do I need to learn? And what part of me needs to show up and really speak my truth? It's not worth it for me to be in a situation like this one or the situation that you may be in. Like, don't feel like you're stuck there. Don't feel like you need to be part of that. I understand like it's so hard to take yourself out of the equation, but it's so much better that you take yourself out of the equation for that moment so you could kind of like clear-headedly like make that decision and say like, what is it that we need to do right now? Because when you're stuck in that and you're hurting each other, it could only escalate and get worse. Like they hurted each other so much. It was so sad to watch. And at the end of the
day, if you're a man and you're in that relationship, you need to like do everything in your power to cut the cord. I know a lot of men that are in abusive relationships that they just settle. Like it's just as bad as it gets.
And then there's a lot of men too that get abused, and then it's like they just take it.
And if you're a woman and your man is abusing you, also cut the motherfucker out.
Yes,
like we are at a place in the world that like we don't have to be like with the world being connected. Like we don't have to be in that situation. We are better than this to make the choice. We just have to again have enough faith in ourselves. That's what I'm really thankful for you that bringing God into the equation every time that you bring God into our lives, every time that you pray for me or pray for our kids. Like that's the belief. If you don't have if you don't have something that's bigger than you in your relationship, if you only rely on your own experience,
you're lost.
Yeah, we're gonna lose lost. Because we need God to make this work. I need God in my life to make sure that He takes me to the right path. I think that's the reason that we're still married is because God is okay. I know that you're crazy motherfucker too, but I want to bring you back to where you're supposed to fulfill your purpose.
Yes.
And if we don't have that, and that's what truly, if you don't have something that is bigger than you,
I agreed.
How can you continue to love unconditionally?
Right.
Because at the core, we're all human. We're all flawed. We all make mistakes, but we have to have something that's bigger than us in order for us to look forward to.
And that's my biggest thing too. Like that's a really good lesson. It's like, did they really have something like that? Because when you have God in your corner, when you have a God in your household, not to say that we're going to stray apart. Sometimes we do, but it's like you keep coming back to the truth. You keep coming back to God's promises. And it's like, if every household had a little bit of that, if every marriage had a little bit of that, those daily reminders, then I don't think we would be where we are today.
So to recap, 3 things that we learned. Number 1 is love is not enough.
Love is not enough. And we say that often.
Number 2, what was number 2?
What do we say? I don't remember.
Money.
Oh, money doesn't buy
guarantee
happiness.
happiness.
That's right.
Like that's the illusion sometimes that we have, is that the moment I have all the money, we're gonna be happy.
Yes.
Money's not about your happiness.
Yes.
And number 3 is, two half-ass people cannot make a whole. You have to be a whole woman, a whole man, in order for you to
Right.
fulfill your partner relationship.
And then we gave you a bonus if you don't have anything to believe in, like if you don't have a higher source to believe in, if you don't have God in your life, you will fall for everything. That was our bonus.
Beautiful. So comment here. Hope that this video brought you some value.
Yes.
Follow us in Instagram. Follow us. Actually, we're in TikTok now too.
Oh,
So
wait,
follow
I'm
us
not
in
on TikTok, but follow us anyway.
Follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Follow us everywhere except for our bedroom. That's where we keep it private. Thank you, babe. Love you. Learn
you,
it. Live it. Experience it.
Love life.
Love life.
If you receive any value from this conversation, comment, subscribe, and share as we continue to impact more people and take it to the next level.
And please send us your comments and questions so we could answer them in the next podcast.
See you in the next episode.